So, in no shape or form do I consider myself right now an influencer or someone seeking fame or anything like that, but I am seeking peace of mind. I'm seeking discovery and balance at this time. And I want to process that out loud. And thank you for taking the time to join me while I do it. I have been going through a transition period, and in this transition, I've been trying to gain insight into the inner mechanisms of how I think, how I operate, how I interact with others in order to be unshakable without having to endure trauma, be unshakable without having to react quickly on my feet, be unshakable without a stimulus. Just be at peace. Sometimes when you're at peace, you're just existing and not just surviving. So one of the books that I actually read recently is The Four Agreements. It is a very small little book, but it has so many nuggets of wisdom in it. And I think that if you're on a path of trying to see how and when your life took certain turns, and more for reflective purposes rather than for bashing yourself or blaming yourself, because I think in the silence when we are all in our rooms or in our safe space or even in our head, because that itself is a room, we find ourselves that despite the things that we show, despite the way that we show up in this world, there's six synchronicities and secrets that we tell ourselves in our head that we don't verbalize. And they're agreements that either have been put on us or that we've put on ourselves, like burdens, and we need to let them go. And I, through this book and through other great authors and just taking the time to sit with myself and separate shame from circumstances and shame from things that have occurred, I've taken the time to actually just see why I reacted to things in a certain way, or how I reacted, or if the way that I thought was the best way to handle things was the actual best way to do so. With the four agreements, I'm not sponsored by this. I'm nowhere near on that level. I'm not at that echelon of influencership. But I do feel that it made me reflect on certain things. What I wrote in the margins, I'd say, is okay. So just a quick synopsis. There's four agreements. This is based on uh like ancient philosophy kind of thing. The first agreement is to be impeccable with your word. The second agreement is to not make assumptions. The third agreement is to not take things personal, and then I guess the fourth one is to do your best. And if I got that inverted, don't come for me. I am neurodivergent, so take what you can get from it. But I put some notes on the margin. And from what hit me home, I had some questions for myself. One of them was, how do you see yourself? What negative self talk do you tell yourself? What do you think people think about you? And then another one, the one that actually like really made me think hard was, how do you create self-love in children? If you're a parent, you're gonna want to like think about that, because I sometimes find myself where either the upbringing that I've had, the circumstances that I've experienced with one child often affect how I raise my second child. And sometimes it's either actions or the inactions or things left unsaid that have your child feeling or perceiving things far from what they may actually be. And reading this book coincided with a little journey that I had going on with my second kid. And it definitely put parenting into perspective. Parenting, both my parenting style and parenting's in the sense of my own parents and what they put on me and the agreements that I believed about myself, because the people around me and the people that raised me and the people that are my core people, my tribe, my purpose and my life source, they are the ones that said, "Hey, this is who you are." And at some point, maybe it's, I don't know if it's a midlife crisis or if it's an awakening or an alignment or whatever fancy phrase you want to call it. At the end of the day, is what I've learned is that just because people have a perception of you or have defined you, you don't have to fall into that narrative. Don't force those narratives upon yourself unless if they're true. Like if you determine that that's who you are, then that's who you are. But somewhere along the line I found myself where I was perpetuating and I was solidifying all these narratives about me, of who I am. And at some point, I wasn't happy with those narratives. I wasn't happy at all with myself. And I didn't know myself. I didn't know who I was, but I know I wasn't happy with that version of what was being put on me. And I had to start making actionable um moments in my life to be able to start to unlearn that old narrative about myself. And that old self was aggressive and violent and loud and difficult and intense. And that old self was probably all that at some point. But then it started to be, oh, because she is this, she's that. And then so then I started to use those things as my descriptors. And somewhere along the line, I used them for so long that I boxed myself into that frame of thought. And I thought that I couldn't change. But I found myself unhappy and nothing was changing. And this will give you some sort of reflectionary action as to how to start some sort of framework for reflection. because this book definitely gave me some sort of framework to reflect on, especially more with my parenting. Like I realized, oh, these were the agreements that my parents put on me. What, and then it further asked me to inquire about myself and my parenting style and how I the things I'm putting on my own children. Another piece of insight that I wanted to touch on that like I know notated in the margin. It's not insight, but it's part of the book. Um, so this intellectual property does not belong to me. This portion, um, it's from the book. From, by the way, Don Miguel Ruiz is the author. I highly recommend it. So okay, in the book it says the difference between victim and warrior. Victims repress because they are afraid to say what they want to say. To refrain is not the same thing as repression. To refrain is to hold the emotions and to express them in the right moment, not before, not later. That is why warriors are impeccable. When I read that, it was like I had like if we were in like a movie, there would be like the montage in my head. I was like, I had seen every moment that I had gone through where I was on autopilot and where I was surviving and where I was taking the emotional hit on my chin and I was unshakable on the surface, but in my internal body, I was on 5 alarm fire mode. And I didn't express that and I didn't say it. And there was no way that phrase right there was no way that I would be able to. When I look at the past, there was no way that I had the skill set to get past the things that were happening to actually get to where I am now. And when you're in chaos and when you are in trauma and when you are in betrayal and when you are in survival and fighting for your life, understand that the first step is to just one foot in front of the other, breathe. And if autopilot is all you can do in that moment, understand, give yourself some grace. And it's okay to be in autopilot. It's okay to have certain things fall apart that are non essential. Be kind to yourself because no one else is going to be kind to you when you are in the thick of it. Everyone can give you the, oh, I'm so sorry for you. Oh, you're such a fighter. You're a survivor. Nobody feels comfort in those words. In the moment when things go from sugar to insert your favorite word, um, there's no comfort in any of that. There's no comfort in how hard or how easy you make it look to withstand. And I'm telling you that from someone who's been in those places and in those rooms, I see you because no one ever saw the internal struggles that I was in my own head. No one understood the gut wrenching pain of betrayal. And no one understood the familial betrayals, and how they affected me, my children, my family, and my sense of self and my sense of self-worth. So I ask of you, you who may be the person that is in the middle of something that is shaking your core, your life, your existence. I see you, and you need to see yourself and understand that even if you have lost faith in yourself, in the universe, in some sort of religious being or existence, that when the people fade and their interest in you to support you or to witness the train wreck, because you'll be surprised how when things are going really bad, people love to come around others to witness their train wreck moment. Or in tarot, it's like the tower card. So when when you're going through your tower card moment in your life, look around you and realize that you might necessarily, because you're in trauma or because you're having your moment, you might not necessarily realize that the people around you are either witnessing your trauma because they have interest for superficial purposes, to compare themselves to your life, or for because the human experience is such a fickle subject sometimes. Like simple things entertain simple minds. A lot of people love to witness people's trauma because it's entertainment. It's better than a soap opera. It's just gossip. But understand that your life is not food or fodder for other people's entertainment. And and understand that you don't have to make it a public platform, or you don't have to process it out loud. And you can honor your privacy. And there's no right way for people, or a guideline for how people respond or process their own trauma. And and so I'd like to just give you some sort of reflection. I tend to, when I don't have answers or I am unclear as to what I should be doing with a particular situation or a particular person in my life, or just to gain some sort of guidance, I look onto the cards or like the books. And you gotta excuse me, I'm not doing this for performative reasons. I'm sick, I'm congested, but something in me decided today was the day that I'm going to show up for myself, even if it's not perfection. Something in me decided that rather than have all these like musings in my head, I'm going to read the room and process it out loud. So rather than read the room in my head, I'm going to read it with you guys. Okay? So I ask, what do we need to know for our 3 card draw today? Take a deep breath, clear that mind. And exhale. I always tell my kids to breathe in and breathe out. And I never I never realized the importance of teaching your children to navigate anxiety and navigate pain. And breath work is a wonderful way to do it. I feel like I live my entire life in a perpetual state of anxiety. And and it's such a not a good way to live. So, like, understand, I think another message that I'm getting as I'm shuffling the cards and random stuff that comes into my head is that our anxiety as individuals permeates into our children. So, if you're high strung, understand that our children are sponges, and that's exactly what you're going to breed, a high strung individual. And you might not realize it when you're raising your children, but when, like, let's say your children go out to other people's houses, or like they visit other people's children for play dates, the other parents, if they're not the, parents don't raise their children the same way. They're gonna realize that, like, they can witness like anxiety within your children. So, like, be mindful. If anything, just be mindful with yourself, with your self-care, your internal self-care, aside from the face, how you care for your soul, because how you care for your soul is exactly how you care for like for your attitude, which is your mobile internal environment. Like, you know how what you say is, like, you only have one chance to make a first impression. um the attitude you carry is your environment. So that's your mobile environment. So if you keep a clean house, people look at that, that's your aesthetic, that's your environment. But your attitude is how your environment carries on it into the world. And be clean with that, or at least aspire to be. And so just if you see that you're anxious, if you see that, because that you're scared, take the time to take a deep breath and just breathe it in, and one step at a time, one foot in front of the other. And we have Page of Pentacles. We're getting good news. Got the Wheel of Fortune. Opportunities are coming. And the Queen of Cups. She's tender hearted. She's secure. She's loving. Be that person to yourself. Understand that you need to take care of yourself in order to be able to take care of others. And with that, I'm reading the room for today. Much love and respect. Be kind to yourself. Bye.